Living with a narcissist is far from easy. It is the most traumatizing event of your life because living with a narcissist subjects you to sequential events on a micro and macro level. From the time you make their acquaintance beyond the time when that acquaintance turned relationship is severed. It does not matter if the narcissist you know is a friend, a family member, or even a spouse, even a child. The trauma that develops within you is emotionally terrorizing every day since for the rest of your life, if you let it. The narcissist certainly has influence, and that influence is meant to be negative for a reason. The narcissist's motives are that of destruction, destroying you not just because they can't, but that's why the trauma is so severe. The mind of a narcissist is centered around self-preservation because the narcissist is rooted in control. They want to control you so that they will never be controlled ever, ever, ever again. They want to control you because controlling you is the ultimate control. If they can control you, then they can destroy you. And if they can destroy you, they can control you. They do this because they were controlled and they were destroyed in the family home. They project that behavior onto you, what was done to them. They project how they feel and how they felt onto you through their aggressive ways. They want you to feel as hopeless and as worthless as they felt, because that somehow makes them feel that they are not so worthless and helpless as they assume themselves to be. They verbally and physically torment, projecting onto us. And when we react, they observe. They judge us in that observation, and they say to themselves, well, look at them. They are the pitiful sight. I never reacted that badly. I never had it that bad as they have it. Look at them. They are pathetic creatures, aren't they? And they deserve what they get because they're not so strong as I to withstand the torment like I did. They're worse off than I am. And although they may not be saying this to you, it's written all over their face with that duping delight Cheshire shit-eating grin. They witness your symptomatic reactions. Spiritually, their egos are getting fed and watered so that the narcissist can remain in control of their inner being. The narcissist feeds off of negativity. They love your reactions as that negative gives them that high they seek. And that is what makes them feel so good because they feel so powerful as you rant and rave at how irresponsible they are, how insincere they come across, how discourteous they are. How could they? They observe in silence, knowing that every time you try to teach them how to properly treat you through your anger, frustration, they in their minds believe that they have control over you. And that control means everything. Because to the narcissist, control means power. Hello, my passionate peeps, my brother and sisters in arms. My name is Shannon Gilmour, and we are here today crushing it as we crush narcissism with insider information about narcissistic behavior from a spiritual perspective. Now, this channel is all about perspective through experience and through the lens of a non-denominational Christian spiritual perspective that helps to alleviate the confusing aspects of narcissism and the abuse that goes along with it. In today's video, I would like to talk to you about detachment. What is it exactly, and how can one apply it to your circumstance? Now, before we crush it out, let's pause to get comfy, shall we? Hit it.
Wake up, light is all around you. Wake up, this shock is meant to grow you. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Detachment. It is a psychological term used in therapy to help one understand their lack of emotional enmeshment to someone or something. Emotional detachment is defined simply as this, as being an inability or unwillingness to connect with other people on an emotional and spiritual level. For some, being emotionally detached does help to protect them from unwanted drama, anxiety, and stress. Detachment can be a psychological condition that is unwanted, as it prevents one from fully engaging with the feelings of others to form tight bonds in relationships. Now, we see this in narcissistic relationships, of course, where the would-be narcissist just doesn't fully engage. And there is no emotional bonding, even though one is led to believe that there is. Now, there are two types of detachment disorders as determined in clinical psychology, and they are reactive attachment disorder, or RAD, and disinhibited social engagement disorder. Now, reactive attachment disorder, or RAD, is formed within the child-parent relationship. In the child's tender years of growing and learning, the child forms a disharmonious attachment to their parent, as the child struggles to meet the needs of the parents. The symptoms are as follows: an inability or an extreme difficulty to calm down, showing little to no emotions when interacting with other people. The child does not look for comfort in their primary caregivers, so they appear unhappy, scared, sad, irritable, offstandish when taking part in normal activities with the primary caregivers. The second type of unhealthy attachment is disinhibited social engagement disorder, and this is also expressed in children as the child becomes overly friendly with people, especially people that they don't know. They can walk up to strangers and show a willingness to offer hugs and being picked up by them. They don't look to their primary caregiver to see if it's okay, mommy and daddy, is it okay if I interact with a stranger? There's no sense of stranger danger. Now, in adults, these symptoms of attachment disorder can be seen with a difficulty in sharing one's feelings or communicating in a way that achieves closeness. The individual suffers from poor listening skills. They lack physical, verbal, and sexual contact. They have a low self-esteem. They participate in some kind of substance abuse, and they show ambivalence. Now, all these symptoms in adulthood are commonly seen in narcissism, and they pose severe problems in a relationship. Attachment disorders are commonly seen in children, and it can be a temporary response to a specific situation, or it can be the symptom of a larger problem, such as a disorder, which indicates a long-term or severe trauma. Now, a child may experience a significant loss, such as a death or of a loved one or a pet, and the children may also express detachment disorders if they are raised in an orphanage or foster care. They experience emotional or physical abuse, such as neglect. Feeling emotionally detached is also a symptom of depression and personality disorders such as narcissism, borderline, post-traumatic stress disorder. It is important to understand the negative aspect of detachment, because when it is used correctly in a healthy way, it can be extremely beneficial. Distancing yourself emotionally from the narcissist is necessary for your healing to take place, as detachment breaks the trauma bond. But this might be easier said than done. So how do we detach and emotionally disengage ourselves from the narcissist in a way that their ways no longer negatively affect us? To emotionally detach yourself from the would-be narcissist is to first understand that the individual has a personality disorder and that their personality is not like your personality. They do not recognize the negative behaviors within their personality disorder in the way that you or I do. The individual views that their actions are right and our actions are wrong, as their reasons for doing what they do are self-motivated. When you can recognize that what the narcissist is doing to you has nothing to do with you, and so they aren't doing anything to you, they are just being who they are. They are just doing what they want to do because they can, because they want to do it. Their behavior feels right to them, so you can then understand that you are just an impersonal casualty, as the narcissist is not focused on you as much as you might think. As your pain and trauma leads you to believe that the narcissist is all about you, when you understand that the narcissist does what they do because they are who they are, you then begin to understand the behavior and how it is toxic to you, and how you cannot control their behavior by trying to elicit a meaningful response from the narcissist. And when this understanding comes to you, oh, the easier it is to not take what they say and do to you personal. But to get to this point in objectivity is to first understand that you have to become truthful and honest with yourself in knowing who they are, and coming to terms with the fact that what you need from the narcissist is not in them to give, sugar lump. Understanding who the narcissist is and why they do what they do, and discovering that you cannot do anything to change who they are, is the first step into your healing and detaching from them emotionally. You cannot love the narcissist enough. You cannot change to suit their needs. You cannot be giving, loving, understanding, kind enough, compassionate enough. Whatever you do, the narcissist sees this everything as a threat. As the narcissist sees you as their competition, as the narcissist sees you as the weaker, as the narcissist sees you as a person to control. Understanding all of this is the first step in detaching yourself emotionally to the narcissist, my friend. See them as who they are, not as who you want them to be. When you understand that who they are is who they are and who they have always been, when you begin to let go of the comparison that they are just like you, you will let go of the potential that you see in them. This is ultimately what detachment is, that you let go of the good that you want to see in them. Just because you want better for the narcissist doesn't mean that the narcissist will ever achieve better for themselves. Your standards of excellence in life and what you achieve as a human being is not the standards of excellence for the narcissist. So getting rid of the potential that you see in the narcissist is the second step in letting go emotionally from the narcissist. How you let go of the potential you see or want to see is to get honest with yourself, to see the narcissist for who they are. My art teacher in high school used to always say something, and it used to unnerve me a little bit. But it did stick with me. See, as an artist, we often learn to draw or paint from life pictures. This is still life. And when you have a photo of an object in front of you, you often interpret the object in such a way that is pleasing to you. You may focus on a pattern or the composition of the object. While it is important to draw from your own perspective, it's important to draw what you see, not what you think you see. And this is exactly what my art teacher in grade 11 used to say. It was her mantra: draw what you see, not what you think you see. So thank you for the life lesson, Mrs. Koenig. Interpretation is not always best. If you want to hone in on your art skills, it's important to draw from the perspective of sight, not intuitive recreation. When we meet someone as an acquaintance, a bond forms, and we end up interacting with someone whom we have an attachment with as they become familiar to us. Now, this person may be a family member, a friend, a spouse. It's these interactions with these people that we infer from a perspective of what we want to see, not what is apparent. What we want to see is subject to our interpretation, and this eschews the person's right to individualism. Our perspective of someone gives us a false sense of clarity on that individual, and it is in of itself a form of control. We control how someone treats us based on our perspective, and that perspective is false because it shows us who an individual is within the lens of objectivity missing. We assume that we see what we are seeing from an individual from a lens of objectivity, when in reality, we see individuals as the way we want to see them. We want to see someone with potential, rather than with the rigidity within their inability to change. Because if we saw people as they truly are without this made-up potential, we would probably not like them very much. We probably wouldn't get along with them very well, as we probably would find them distasteful and dissatisfying. We would reject them and so we create this falsehood for ourselves in self-preservation because we would rather be with someone who has a potential to change than someone who doesn't have any potential within to change. We miss those red flags on purpose that tell us the truth. Those red flags that show us exactly what we are seeing. And we ignore them and turn to what we think we see based on the truth that we tell ourselves. An inverted truth, a lie, because the lie hurts just a little less. We would rather be with someone who is negative and off-putting, who gives us attention, and we minimize that negative attention by seeing what isn't there, potential. We project ourselves onto the narcissist through potential. And this is easier to address than to really assess what is going on inside of us, that having someone negative around us is better than having no one around us at all. We have lost objectivity, and this has caused us some serious harm. Ridding ourselves of potentiality will allow us to see people as they are by observing their actions, as actions speak louder than words. Giving people the benefit of the doubt is good, and giving people a chance is good, but giving them the benefit of the doubt and a chance upon chance upon chance to keep hurting us is an exercise in self-sabotage and self-loathing. We should want the best for ourselves. Instead, we want the best for others instead, and we look to the potential of their needs and their wants and their desires, of what we want to see in others, and this leads to our own destruction. This is a form of self-sabotage and control. We blame the narcissist for everything that they do, and they are guilty. But what makes us so special that we're not responsible for our own actions as well, as we have ourselves to blame. Ouch. I know that's going to hurt some of you, because some of us don't want to hear this. Maybe you're not ready, and that's okay. However, getting truthful with ourselves in this video, I am not going to tell you what you want to hear. This is about getting honest with ourselves, because getting into narcissistic relationships is an exercise in self-deception. That is a reality we do not see. And what you cannot see, you cannot face. It's important to ask ourselves, why are we engaging in self-deception? One reason could be that we are scared of our own potential, because we don't know what our potential is. And so we look to the potential in others to find our identity. This prevents us from exploring the self within the ego. Because if we really looked at our egos, we wouldn't like what we see. And so we observe the narcissist ego and point the finger and react when their ego treats us in a way that harms our own ego, without realizing that we are also harming ourselves through the potential we see and the lack of objectivity we have within the narcissistic situation. We forget that the ego of everyone, narcissist and empath, is rooted in fear. When we look at ourselves from the perspective of ego, we then can understand that the narcissist ego fights for dominance over our own. And it is the reactive nature of our ego to stay in complete control as the ego fights conformity and assimilating with the narcissist's ego. Our ego doesn't want to become one with the narcissist, and we shouldn't. But that is ultimately what the narcissist's ego fights for within us. The narcissist wants us to conform to become like them so that they can control themselves as they control us. Now, there is a hidden gem in all of this, an irony, if you will, that just came to my awareness, and I'll speak of that irony at the end of this video. It's kind of interesting. By the way, if you are enjoying the information within this video so far, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Your support helps this channel work with the YouTube algorithms of popularity, as the viewership of videos dictate what videos get the best and most promotion within YouTube. So can you please help make this channel go viral? Please. Thank you so very much. Now there's step 2B. In detaching your emotions from the narcissist. It's to see yourself as you really are. That's to get rid of the potential that you see in the narcissist. If you are willing to see the narcissist as who they really are, then you must be aware and be willing to see yourself as who you really are. I'm under the stance of fair is fair. I do not like double standards. And that's one thing that we targets of narcissism often complain about, that the narcissist has double standards, but we also carry double standards that we're not aware of. If we're going to look at the narcissist, we need to be aware that it is only fair to look at our own behavior. It is important for us to see us as who we truly are and ask ourselves important questions. Now, we aren't perfect, as we shouldn't be perfect, and we have flaws, and recognizing our flaws allows us to change and do better by being better. Having flaws doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It is empowering to embrace your flaws because it means you have greater potential. When you are with the narcissist, you often fall in love with their potential and you neglect your own. You recognize their flaws and see that they do have capacity to change. But what about yourself? Your empathy is focused on them and determines that, oh, they have the capacity to change. However, the narcissist has to see that they can change through a desire for change. That's the issue. A narcissist does not see that they are flawed. If you bring up any flaw that you see in them, oh, they will hold that against you. They will see that as judgment, and they will refuse to see what you see, or they simply cannot see what you see. So do you see the ultimate dilemma here, the paradox in this? You see the narcissist for greater potential, but they don't see that potential in themselves. You are projecting onto them what you don't see in yourself. What you want to see in yourself, you actually project onto them, but you're not seeing that potential in yourself. We always make the situation more complicated than what it needs to be. And this is complicated, but when you unpack it, it makes sense. The potential that you hold for the narcissist in high regard is an exercise in futility. Instead, looking at your flaws and giving them acknowledgement to understand the areas in yourself that need improvement, this is potential that you can work with as it helps you to fall in love with yourself. Falling in love with yourself by seeing your potential and who you are capable of becoming allows yourself room to grow. To see yourself as who you are and who you want to be and taking steps to become who you dare to become is what it means to support yourself in your potential. Seeing your potential is the empathetic pathway to loving yourself. A narcissist cannot be supported in any potential that you see because they believe they have achieved their fullest potential and do not need to change. So that means any potential that you see in the narcissist is a flawed perception, a judgment that they perceive, and that they should do better by being better. And when they believe that they have already fulfilled that achievement, well, you're not going to get anywhere. You're trying to control the narcissist in a potentiality that you haven't even recognized in yourself. We're blaming the narcissist of trying to control us when we are doing the same thing to the narcissist, just differently. To understand this potential in the narcissist as opposed to the potential within you, let's think of a storyline in a movie. That storyline builds up in achieving a specific outcome. That storyline builds upon itself to build suspense in conflict resolution. When the climax of the story is reached, the problem is solved. When there is no more problem to solve, the movie just ends. Well, for a narcissist, they are the hero in their own movie that has no climax. They have reached the apex or the climax, and so there's no problem to solve. So what's our issue? That's what the narcissist thinks. Why do you have a problem with me? I'm not the issue, you are. And what begins to happen, because there's no self-growth, because that's what problem solving is, the narcissist becomes stagnant in their growth. And they then start tearing down that growth that they achieved, that persona of perfection, through the negative choices that they make. In their stagnancy, they create chaos through self-sabotage, or they create chaos with you. And they make you the villain so that they can remain the hero and problem solve situations that they themselves created. This is an exercise in futility. This is defeatism. But the plot thickens. when we become aware of the conflict within our own personal situations, we become the heroes in our own movie too. We take steps for harmonious conflict resolution within ourselves and within others. When we reach the apex of our growth and there is no more conflict to solve, we don't become stagnant, and we do not self-sabotage and self-destruct like the narcissist. No, instead, we put ourselves out there in vulnerability to use our story to help teach, lead, and guide others. We become a part of someone else's story to help them reach a resolution of conflict and build the conflict resolution and climax of their own life story. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Great. So the third step in detachment is to understand your emotions. Understand where those emotions come from, as the narcissist likes to trigger our emotions. And again, it's not really per se that the narcissist is actually pushing our proverbial buttons on purpose. They're just being who they are. But because of the potential that we are projecting onto them, that we falsely see in them, we hold expectations of conduct. And that those expectations are what lead us to disappointment. And when we become disappointed, we become frustrated. And when we become frustrated, we show that in anger or disappointment or aggression. This is a perfect segue from the last step. Sometimes the people in our own story, they do force themselves on us. The narcissist does what they do. They have no boundaries. And we take on their shadows as our persona. We don't realize that these shadows are impersonal, as they impersonate a projection of who we falsely believe ourselves to be. Sometimes the person in our story forces their selves, their ego onto us. The narcissist does this to elicit a response from us, and that response from us comes from our disappointment in the narcissist not holding up to unspoken expectations through the potentiality we hold towards them. This is a form of control on our parts, and we don't understand that we are trying to control the narcissist. Now, the narcissist tries to project themselves onto us, as they do try to cause us to become more like them. And this is what our egos fight. And we don't realize that it's the shadow persona of the ego from the narcissist that is trying to project something onto us, as the narcissist tries to get us to impersonate a projection of who the narcissist falsely believes themselves to be. Now, this may sound confusing, but I discussed this in a previous video that I shared with you, how God shared with me that the emotions of my parents in a time of a horrific argument were not just exchanged between the two of them, but they were also exchanged with me, as I absorbed their personas, their shadow personas, in their emotions, as their emotions bodied their intent to displace and disperse each other's emotions by dissolving hate for one another within the lies and jealousy. What? This doesn't have to be so confusing. Essentially what happened was, I was in my mother's womb. My parents had a fight when my mother was pregnant with me. And that fight caused me to naturally absorb their negative energy for one another. My mother told a lie. My dad became jealous because of that lie. And I then embodied the lie my mother told, and I also became defensive of the lie As my dad was defensive, I became offensive. I took on that aftershock of the jealousy and the lie combined, and it became my life's mission to absolve myself of the guilt within the lie that I became. And it also became my mission to absolve the jealousy and put to ease the jealousy by creating a sense of ease and harmony, by trying my best to lay that jealousy to rest, because after all, in my dad's eyes and in that intent and the energy, I was the reason for my dad's jealousy. So it became my life's mission to find resolution with my parents' pain. Their pain had nothing to do with me. Their thoughts and feelings became manifested through me, through the natural absorption of energy that happens through scientific discovery, as we now know that water absorbs energy, water absorbs intent. And when we are surrounded by water in the womb, that water absorbs outside energy, and also the energy that is pulsating through our mothers. So the energy of my parents were thrust and pushed upon me, and I naturally absorbed them, as we all naturally absorb negative and positive energy when we're in our mother's womb. Now, these feelings for me became a foundation for my character as these arguments took place with me being in my mother's womb. Water absorbs our intent and in our emotions. And with us being surrounded by water in our mother's womb, it is important for us to figure out that there are false emotions that we think belong to us, but really belong to our parents. And not only that, we are surrounded by water right now, as there is water in the air that we breathe. So we are taking in the intent from other people's energy as we breathe that in and make it one with our cellular structure. So I speak of scientific aspects of this in the previous video that I mentioned, but suffice it to say, understanding your feelings and emotions and where they truly do come from can help you to understand yourself. Understanding where these negative emotions come from can help you to find yourself and discover yourself anew. When you can understand that you have the power to control what you feel, you then have the understanding to know that the narcissist does not have any jurisdiction over you, and they lose all power. When the narcissist can no longer control your emotions, they lose interest in you and they just go away. By staying in control of your emotions allows you to stand in objectivity to know that the narcissist cannot elicit a negative reaction from you. When you remain calm, cool, and collected, by understanding who you are and why you feel what you feel, you can understand that the narcissist entices you to trigger you, to get you to lose control over yourself, as this is how the narcissist remains in control over you. When you remain in control over yourself, you remain in your power. When you stand in control, in self-control, the narcissist loses control, and this is what breaks the spiritual hold of trauma that helps you, that keeps you bound to the narcissist, as you no longer allow yourself to stand in servitude for them. When you become emotionally detached, you begin to see how powerful you truly are, as your emotions create your environment around you. Your feelings attached to your thought create an environment, wanted or unwanted, that make you the hero or antagonist of your own story in life. We are led to believe that it is all about the narcissist, when in fact the narcissist is used by God to bring out the worst in us, so that we can best be brought, so that the best can be brought out in us. The narcissistic antagonist in life reveals to us how we have become a narcissist to ourselves, pitting our empathy against a limited potential that drives self-pity. Ooh. Did you hear that one? Empathy is limitless and self-pity is limiting. The narcissist reveals to us who we are not and can never be. And yet, it takes the narcissist to reveal to us the qualities of narcissism that pit us against ourselves, as these cause us to self-surrender to fear instead of love. Love is who we are, and in order to see this, we need to see ourselves from the perspective of fear. To fear the unknown, my friends, is to hide from what we've never known, and we have never known ourselves because our emotions are not our own. When we allow ourselves the ability to understand that fear was given to us, we can then let go to let love in through self-discovery that leads to self-mastery. And that is where potentiality, and that is where we project potential onto the narcissist. Because deep down inside, spiritually, our spirits, our souls know this, but we're not self-aware of this, that the fear and the anxiety that we have been born into is from someone else's feelings. And so we know that we have the potential for goodness because that's what we were born with. But these negative feelings overshadow and overpower the love that we've been born with, because the love that we were born with is innocent. It was never given the chance to become strengthened and stand courageous and strong against fear. So it takes fear in order to expose us to ourselves. Are you understanding me so far? We can then let go when we understand the reason for our projected potential onto the narcissist. We can then let love through by discovering what love was meant. We can then discover that love is who we are. Through discovery that leads to self-mastery, we understand exactly who we have always meant to be. When we detach ourselves from the narcissist, we then can attach ourselves to love within, which allows us to attach ourselves to healthy, responsive, and responsible relationships that are healthy and limitless in potential. To be limitless, we first have to be limited. And the narcissist's ways are limiting for a reason. To discover that reason, one has to discover the art of detachment, as this is what brings us full circle. Self-mastery leads to self-discovery, and self-discovery leads to self-mastery. And here is the hidden gem that I said I would mention that leads to us coming full circle, that leads us to the path of irony. The ego is rooted in fear. The ego fights conformity, and understanding this helps us to understand why we and the narcissist make such good frenemies. We relate to each other on levels that our egos understand, and it is through our egos we attack each other in areas of each other that we do not understand. The like within the ego is an agreement with each other. And that is why we sometimes can get along with the narcissist. However, the dissimilar egos combat each other, and that is why we fight and argue with them. The narcissist wants us to conform, but we want to stay individualized. And the irony of it all is that fear, both from the narcissist and from ourselves, is separating. The narcissist is separated from themselves and from us and from God because of fear. And fear is solidified in their hearts. They work totally from the ego. We are separated from ourselves and from God and from the narcissist because of ego also. However, because empathy resides in us, in our hearts, empathy calls out to us in self-preservation. It echoes to us from the perspective of guilt. Ego wants to remain separate from everyone and everything else. It is love's calling that we unite with ourselves and unite with others so we can reunite and unite with God. We're not to find unity in just everyone. Love needs to unite and become one with love. That is the irony. We are led by our egos to not conform, yet love needs us to conform. We do not conform to the ego, but we let go of the ego by subduing it so that we can submit to love and conform to love, so that we can become one with love, to become one and conform to others who also embody love. Do you see the irony? God sends the narcissist to help us to understand that we do need to conform. No man is an island. We don't conform to the ego, as the ego remains separate from God. But we let go of the ego, we submit to the ego by looking at it and subduing it so that we can submit ourselves in love to God, so that we can be united in Him as one with Him and with His children around the world. This is why the narcissist is rooted in ego, and they need us to conform to them. This helps them to attain the godlike nature. But the ego can never conform to anyone. That is why it's important to subdue the ego, so that we can conform to love by becoming love. As I mentioned earlier, our ego doesn't want to become one with the narcissist, but that is ultimately what the narcissist's ego fights for with us. When we understand who we are, we no longer fight with the narcissist, as we allow them to be who they are, as we allow ourselves to be who we are. We are love, they are fear. Love and fear are opposite, and they may attract for a time as we attract each other so that we can see our own potential. It takes the narcissist's destructive ways to bring out the restorative ways in us by bringing love to the surface, as love heals all wrongs. Our love will never be able to heal the narcissist, but it is the love within. When we go within, we will then be able to see that the fear of the narcissist is what was needed to get us to see what we couldn't see all along. You can't see what you don't see. You can't know what you don't know. You can't learn what you don't learn. You can't change what you don't change. The narcissist, they can't change, but we can, and those that can do. And that is why the narcissist is in your life, to help you to see your potential, to help you to see you as who you truly are. You are love, and it is time for you to start loving yourself. Today in this video, I have given you 3 major steps to help you become emotionally detached from narcissistic abuse, as you understand the reasons why it is for your benefit to become emotionally detached from the narcissist. As you begin to practice and implement these ideas, you will see through your specific methods of choice how self-help through self-awareness is your method to self-preservation. We are in it to win it, my friends, and in this video, I hope you have been encouraged to dive deeper into your healing as you challenge yourself to go the distance to setting yourself free from bitterness, pain, and hate for the narcissist. They say, to thine own self be true. And these words could not be more truer, as we are to love ourselves with an everlasting love, as these videos help you to love yourself as God loves you. My name is Shannon Gilmour. Thank you for joining me today as we step a little deeper into crushing narcissism, not with a vengeance, but with a passionate awareness that makes us our focus. Be blessed.
Yeah, I have been praying for intervention. The world is changing, changing. Nature abused, harmony forgotten. And I was suffering, oh no. Looking out the window, I'm not alone. Looking out the window, no, you're not alone. Looking out the window, we're coming home, coming home, coming home. Oh, wake up, I am here beside you. Wake up, light is all around you. Wake up, this shock is what will grow you. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. This is the place where we start again. Oh, this is the time when we make amends. Oh, this is how we learn at the point of no return. So don't come backwards, my friend. Transcend this, transform and transcend this. Though it hurts and feels strange, we can transcend this, my friend. Don't you know we have to change? Looking out the window, I'm not alone. Looking out the window, you're not alone. Looking out the window, we are home, we are home, we are home. Oh, wake up, I am here beside you. Wake up, light is all around you. Wake up, this shock is meant to grow you. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. This is the place where we start again. Oh, this is the time when we make